The President of the Republic of Korea visits China. What does it mean for bilateral relations between the two countries and major issues confronting the region? Hello, I'm Arnold Naidu, and this is The Heat. As China and the Republic of Korea mark the 25th anniversary of diplomatic ties between their countries, the president of the ROK, or South Korea, is visiting China. On Thursday, President Moon Jae-in met with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and with ongoing nuclear concerns on the Korean Peninsula, as well as important issues like trade, there was much to discuss. Before we get to our panel, we begin with correspondent Lynn Tang. She joins us from Beijing. And China's President Xi Jinping met with the President of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, on Thursday. What can you tell us about the meeting and the major issues both leaders discussed?
So the focus was really on two things, bilateral trade and the DPRK nuclear issue, both which really are linked to one another. Now, at a meeting in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping has acknowledged that relations between China and South Korea have experienced some setbacks, and he hopes that President Moon's visit will be an opportunity to improve these ties. President Xi also said that we must not allow a war or chaos to happen on the Korean Peninsula, adding that the issue should be resolved through dialogues. Now, Moon also said he expects to reaffirm specific cooperation with President Xi on how the two countries should address the DPRK nuclear issue in a peaceful manner. He has called for a new start in bilateral relations and also mentioned of his willingness to participate in China's Belt and Road Initiative. Since the deployment of THAAD early this year, bilateral trade relations between the two countries have taken a beating, something that we have only read too often, from the plunge in sales of Lotte Group, Hyundai, tourism numbers. Now, the meeting also saw China and South Korea having signed 7 memoranda of understanding as they agree to expand cooperation in the areas of health, industry and IT, agriculture, commerce, energy, the Winter Olympics, as well as education. This signing of MOUs are follow-up negotiations under a free trade agreement established between the two countries in December 2015. Now, Moon is expected to visit Peking University, also known as Beida, today, and he will visit Chongqing tomorrow. He's accompanied by over 200 business leaders, including Samsung and Hyundai in this trip, which is said to be the biggest delegation ever.
Now, Lynn Tang, how much of an issue is trade on this trip to China by the South Korean president? What sort of progress is expected in that area?
Now, trade is definitely a huge agenda on this trip. If you take a look at the share of business that these two countries share, China is South Korea's largest trade partner. We are talking about 25% of South Korea's total exports going to China, and that's almost twice as much as the share of the United States. And what is happening is that this share has been decreasing in recent months, at least figures up until August shows. And we have heard and read a lot about the big Korean players impacted here. Lotte, for one, having to put up its supermarket in China for sale. Hyundai sales plunged 40% in the first 10 months. But the impact really trickles down to even the small businesses. I was in Chengdu just 2 days ago, and a female business owner shared that sales of her cosmetics business has gone down since the deployment of THAAD early this year. And she couldn't launch her online platform business because a Korean investor has pulled out. That said, there has been some progress. Both China and South Korea have issued a joint statement 2 months ago expressing their mutual desire to improve relations, following which there have been some improvements. Such as the return of some Chinese package tours to South Korea. Although really tangible results remain to be seen just yet, and analysts say the big elephant in the room really is still THAAD and the handling of DPRK's nuclear problem. Back to you in the studio, Anand.